I have a quick product review about Western Family instant oatmeal. Ew, don't buy it. It's too sweet. Too sweet. Good morning once again. Here I am, still in the Rockies. Actually, I feel kind of overdressed. It's actually not that cold. I was just looking at the weather report and they said that it's supposed to go up to 11 degrees, but I find that really hard to believe. But anyway, so today I got up early this morning and yeah, it's pretty overcast and the light is pretty flat. Mind you, the sun is trying to poke out now, so I'm hoping that we'll get some breaks in the cloud. You know, just with snow, you definitely need a few little shadows just to give it a little bit of depth. Otherwise, it just looks so flat, you know. Especially with these dark trees. I mean, if they had a bit of snow on them, that would help matters quite a bit. I know there is a front moving in, so what I'm hoping is that we'll maybe tomorrow get a day of snow, and then the day after it's supposed to clear up a little bit. I mean, it's kind of a long shot, but we'll see what happens. I mean, there is definitely a lot of snow here. So I think what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go up the road towards Johnston Canyon and hike up there and see what I can find. There are some really cool things up there, but in these conditions, I don't know, it's hard to say. We'll give it a go. Anyway, it's a nice hike anyway. Now, for those that aren't familiar with Johnston Canyon is obviously a canyon in Banff National Park, and it's a bit of a tourist trap. In the summer it's just packed here. In the winter it's not too bad. It's a nice little canyon that goes up a valley for several kilometers up to some lakes, and there's a number of small waterfalls and steep cliffs and pools and such. So for photographers it's not a bad place to come on days like today when there's not really much else happening in the mountains and so on. Now, a couple of kilometers up the trail here, there's a really nice bend in the river with quite a large alcove or a cave, and you can get some pretty good shots in there depending on the conditions. So I think I'll probably head on up there and see what I can find. Of course, everything's going to be frozen this time of year, so it should be interesting. One year I went in there and it was half frozen. There was a little waterfall in there, and it was quite neat. It had all these steps of ice with water flowing below them. So yeah, it's a pretty cool thing to photograph. Well, as I said, the light is really flat, and of course there's no snow on the trees and just a little bit of, well, lots of snow on the ground. But anyway, I should stop complaining. Funny thing about photographers, we just love to complain, especially about the light. It's always something. Gear malfunction or light.
This airy dust falls heavy on my head. This airy dust falls heavy on my head. The more I knew, the less was said. This pedestal is towering over me. This pedestal is towering over me.
Okay, now this is the alcove that I was talking about earlier. So you can see the waterfall over to the left here. It's quite amazing in here. But as far as photography goes, I think today I'm going to pass on this scene. To be honest with you, I think it looks better. Well, if there was snow on the trees, It'd definitely be worth giving a go. But right now I think it looks better when the river's running and there's no snow or ice. Alright, so I'm using a 16 to 35 because I want to include the sweep of this whole cliff and then the waterfall, and then down here there's some beautiful snowy, I don't know what you call them, snow pillows, and they got some nice light on them, and luckily for me they haven't been all tracked out by somebody. I'm going to try and include those in the foreground, and then we'll get the blue water. Anyway, we'll see how this goes. And the polarizer doesn't do an awful lot actually, but I'll leave it on there anyway. And slow the water down just a little bit, get that blurry effect. I want to try and smooth out the water, the pool here. I'm going to try f14 at ISO 100. That gives me an exposure of 3 seconds, so that should be plenty to blur the water out a little bit. Let's see how that looks. Got my spectacles on here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Can't really see the waterfall though. I think I've got the brightest area in the image seems to be up here, and I don't want that. So what I'm going to try and do, because bright areas in a frame always attract attention, so if anybody's looking at the photograph, their eye is going to go straight to that area. Now you can dodge and burn bright areas in Photoshop, but I think I'm going to give myself a bit of a tighter composition here. These snow pillows are beautiful. I just wish there was a bit more of that in the foreground here, but some of them have been tracked out, so alright, let's give that a go. So still at f14, 2.5 seconds, ISO 100. I'm going to try and make these snow pillows a bit more dominant in the frame. Like, they're nice to one side, but okay, let's see what I can do if I get closer to them and put them in the foreground. Okay, this is really quite icy here, so I got to kind of cramp on things on, but I might gotta be careful I don't fall into the water there. That's the last thing I want. Oh, that's better. That's way better. Okay, I think I'm going to need a wider lens though. Okay, I'm going to try it with this lens. I have 2 wide angle zooms. This one I usually use for backpacking, and then I have a 14 to 24. But I just happen to bring both of them. I mean, it seems kind of silly double upping on wide angle zooms, but just happens to be in my pack. So, all right, so we got the sweep of the snow in the foreground here, and then the snow pillows off to one side, and then it kind of sweeps around with the waterfall below, and then sweeps down again over to the icicles on the cliff there. I mean, in theory, looks good, but whether it works out well as a photograph, I'm not sure. Let's see. So, okay, so at 2 seconds, f16, ISO 100, and I'm right at the maximum 14 millimeter. So let's give that a go. Perfect. Well, maybe not perfect. Looks good anyway. As soon as I start getting down on the shelf here, the composition gets much better. I'm just kind of worried that this thing's going to break off. I mean, I guess I won't drown, I'll just get a bit wet. But anyway, this is beautiful. This has got icicles in there, and then I got the waterfall. So we got icicles down here, the snow pillows, and then it swoops around again. And we've got this beautiful line of snow in the foreground. that worked out pretty good. I mean, my expectations weren't terribly high, but I got pretty excited about that one composition there. Now, whether it'll translate or not, I'm not sure. I mean, I really liked those pillows of snow on the side there and the icicles. But I might have to do a bit of Photoshop magic to bring out some of those finer points. We'll see. Anyway, it was a nice walk anyway. It was a bit better than sitting in the van all day drinking tea. You know, sometimes when things don't look terribly exciting for photography, all it takes is, you know, get your camera out, just explore a little bit, and you never know, you might come up with something. And if you don't, well, it's no big deal, you know. I mean, ideally on these trips, it's nice to come home with, you know, 3 or 4 really good images. But sometimes you go on these trips and you're lucky if you get any. So, right, I'll make my way up this slippery hill. I wonder if I can do this holding a camera. Oh, I think I'm going to put it away. Alright, so I'm going to head back down to the van and spend the night somewhere, and then hopefully we'll get some morning light. Fingers crossed. Alright, next time.